You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just text FINANCE, F-I-N-A-N-C-E, to 357-911 right now to get started. That's FINANCE, F-I-N-A-N-C-E, to 357-911. Auto financing the easy way. Text FINANCE to 357-911.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Red Wine. This is Diane, and Jody is unable to be with us tonight, so we miss her greatly, but I am very happy to be joined by CyberSec Princess Lou. How are you doing, Lou? We had to follow that by Princess because it is Princess Lou. So how are you doing, Lou? Thank you so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
I'm out of hiding for this show.
Really? So we have a lot to talk about, rant about. I know everybody is probably speaking about, at least on the Twitter, the latest hashtag, I stand with Ilion. I just have no words for that woman. Basically, she pretty much called 9/11 done by some people and can't understand why people are strangely upset, including our president, who tweeted out, "I will never forget," along with a little video montage of interspersing scenes from 9/11 and her giving her speech. We now have some claiming that this was considered a death threat against Representative Ilhan Omar, and I completely disagree. If it comes to the point now where we can't even have disagreements with others before they claim it's a death threat or you're threatening me, grow the hell up. Seriously, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Lou?
Grow the hell up.
Grow the hell up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, have you ever seen such a level of victimization that's out there nowadays?
No, not that I can recall, and not in my lifetime, unless it was like when I was like a really small child, like late 60s, early 70s or something. There was a lot of victimization, but I don't think it was like this. I mean, it's like everyone is a victim for some reason or another, right?
I mean,
yeah, and people
exactly.
Like you, and people like you and I that are like constantly being, and not just us. There are plenty of us. Happens to Rick. It happens to a lot of our friends. That threatened and harassed and whatever, and we're like. Yeah, our attitude is like, I'm not your victim, F you. But other people are going around looking for reasons to be victims. Like, how can I create a situation where I'm victimized? It's crazy.
What's really interesting is when you look at the I Stand With Ilion, they're basically comparing this to, AOC, and I have to say, I really hate those initials, but half the time I can't remember her name because she's a nobody to me. I could care less about her. I don't listen to her. basically put out a meme of using the words from the Lutheran minister. I think basically it had to do with, I only scanned at it, but like basically calling what's happening now like Nazi Germany. And I say to myself, we know she didn't do well in economics. That's right out there. She definitely did not take history. They literally have no idea what they're trying to say and what they're claiming that the supposed right is doing, when in reality, it's, again, that false victim syndrome. What they say is happening to them is what they're actually doing to everybody else. Do you see that as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's you're basically talking about the projection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, isn't that, Rick, I think you're more of an expert on this than I am. Isn't that one of the rules for radicals?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely.
It is definitely a rule for radicals. So
yeah, most of the stuff they're doing right now is coming straight out of that playbook.
Is that Saul Alinsky? Is that the book?
Yep, that's the one written by Saul Alinsky, yes.
And the thing, what I find interesting is how the left and, these representatives seem to think that the rest of this country is falling for it. And in reality, they're not. They've tuned them out. Yes, they've absolutely tuned them out. I can probably tell you right now that come election time in 2020, they will not be reelected and they will be forgotten about. When so many people in AOC's own district are furious about Amazon, that's going to translate into other things. She's the darling of the media right now, as is the other two. I kind of call them like the, gruesome threesome. They're definitely not the Three Musketeers, but it's like the three of them have joined together, and they don't realize what they're doing is far more damage. And I'm enjoying it to the Democratic Party than anyone I've seen.
Yeah, I think the more that, we saw it during the last presidential campaign and the attempts to make all of us look like, all the fake alt-right, which have been really exposed as, 80% of the alt-right accounts on Twitter were just completely fake, paid, created alt-right personalities that weren't even real. Those guys aren't even real. And it was an attempt to radicalize the right, or make the right look radical, because they know the more you radicalize, the fewer people relate to you, right? Because regardless of what they'd like for us to think, the people aren't radical. They live their lives, they do their jobs, they take care of their business, they take care of their families, their children, their parents, whatever it is, their top priorities are. And they don't think radically about politics.
No.
So them radicalizing their party the way that they are, we call it, when we talk amongst ourselves, we call it crisis politics. That's what it is. It's whatever the next crisis is. When they radicalize themselves, they're not doing themselves any favors, and so I totally agree with you. They're hurting themselves.
And I think another issue that I find where they hurt themselves greatly is when they talk the party line and the party speech. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I think it was Chuck Schumer, or maybe it was Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff, when they're saying, you need to, oh God, I can't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, brain freeze. But they basically were demanding, it was Attorney General Barr retract his statement about, possibly the Trump campaign being spied upon. And I noticed that retract was literally used in every senator or congressman from the Democratic Party. So when you catch those phrases in almost every single tweet or every single comment, you know that they're basically given the talking points. And they don't realize people know that. They notice this, but I think they're so arrogant that they don't think people notice it.
No, I think you're absolutely right there. But it's not just about them being arrogant. It's about the fact that they've been getting away with it forever, right? So it's never failed them. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And I still to this day am wondering, what did the left have planned for this country to have this sort of reaction to almost, 2.5 years later to Donald Trump being elected president? What did they have planned for this country? And that to me is frightening, because I've never seen such anger, such vitriol, if you want to call it that, against a man that they will literally go out of their way to block each and everything he tries to do.
Yeah, and I mean, you know how I was during the election. I was never a Trump supporter, and I'm probably, please don't get mad at me in the chat room, I'm still really not. He drives me crazy. Rick said something today. Rick, can I repeat what you said today that was so freaking funny about him on Twitter?
Sure.
Rick said today, most days I cringe, something like most days I cringe whenever Trump tweets, but not today. That's kind of like, I mean, just somebody take away his Twitter account. But what I've watched since the election is the left push even the Never Trump crowd, even people who were as adamantly Never Trump during the primaries as I was, if not more so, wrote in a write-in candidate in their states where they could, voted for a libertarian candidate where they would refuse to vote for Trump because they didn't believe he had the conservative principles that he should have. I have watched the left push those people closer and closer to Trump since the election. And it's not really so much downsizing the government and consolidating agencies and stuff like that. I think really appealed to a lot of those people. But for the most part, it's been the left that has pushed those people in that direction. And, you know, that's what radicalization does. And that's what the hysteria over him has created. I understand a lot of it. And this isn't going to make me a lot of friends, probably. Please don't hate me in the chat room. I understand the hysteria about him. You know, I mean, I really do. I understand. Well, maybe not the hysteria, but I understand the concerns about him as a person, as a man, as an attitude, as a, you know, because people really do think that the president literally has his hand on the nuclear button. I'm here to tell you, people, that's not actually true. Yes, there's a guy with him with the football, but he can't make a unilateral decision to drop a bomb.
Right.
Right. So that's not actually true. So if you're afraid of that, you can dial that down a little bit. But so in that sense, I understand. He is our head of state. And I understand people might have concerns about his fitness to be in that position. So, you know, and I'm one of those people that is very tolerant of other people's opinion until it gets to the point of hysteria and exaggeration and things that are just totally untrue. Right. And you just watch people, just the people on the right that don't necessarily aren't huge fans of him, just become more and more fond of him with every false statement that's made about him, with every exaggeration that's made about him. you know, and I don't think it's good for the country I don't think it's good for either side, to be honest.
I think it's kind of hard when people take it personal, because you hear so many people, so many, we'll call them the blue checks. If you support Trump, or you obviously espouse the same, beliefs that he does. And I disagree that he's a white supremacist or an alt-right or whatever. When he made those comments in was it Virginia? When they had the vehicle that drove into the crowd of people that were...
Yeah, Charlottesville,
Virginia. When he made that comment, because honestly, how many times have there been issues that have been blamed on the alt-right when it was actually planted, liberals or people from the left that was causing this? So you end up, becoming caustic, skeptical. So when it was, I suppose I would compare it when he said that, there's a little on both sides. You also compare it, to the fact of the alt-right, the alt-left. It's on both sides. It's always on both sides. And there are times when he's tweeted where it's just like, dear God, put that thing away. But then I look at it as this way: of all the stuff he's been accused of, who's his best advocate? Himself. Could he say it and phrase it a lot better? Oh, most certainly. But that's never who he was. He's always been, to me, he's always been the same person, same, jackwagon, years ago when Twitter first came out till now. He hasn't changed.
Right.
He's always opened up his mouth and put his foot in it every single time. But what I find really interesting is the fact that, when it came to all the affairs and all that stuff, I don't ever remember him apologizing for any affairs that he may have had or anything. He didn't.
Yeah, I don't remember him ever apologizing for anything.
And he didn't. And but the question is, I think in his mind, he's like, why should I apologize? The only people I need to apologize to is my immediate family. And you know what I'm saying?
And you can't really blame the guy for having that attitude. When it comes to something personal like that, the difference in the approach to Bill Clinton's personal behavior and Donald Trump's personal behavior is really kind of interesting. But that's like a psychological study, I think.
Yeah.
A group psych study. Why do people feel one way about Bill Clinton when they feel the other way about Donald Trump? And it's very partisan, right? So people on the right,
I've never been able to figure that out ever.
Right. Yeah. But it's a partisan thing. So my undergrad was poli-sci. That one thing that was repeated over and over and over and over to us is where you sit depends on where you stand.
Exactly.
Right. So, where you sit on, Trump's personal issues depends on where you stand politically, vice versa.
It's amazing how you can have two people of different political viewpoints read the same paragraph and come out with two very different conclusions.
Mm-hmm. Listen to the same audio, come up with two very different conclusions. Read the same tweet, come up with two very different conclusions.
When I see, going back to Ilyan, the representative, her comments about some people where they said that her words were taken out of context. It was a straight video of her speaking. How can they say those words were taken out of context?
She was speaking to CARE. And I happen to know a little bit about CARE. And CARE funnels money to terrorists.
Oh, for sure.
So if you're going to speak to an organization who funnels money to terrorists, what are you going to say about 9/11?
It was done by some people.
Some people somewhere that oh, by the way, you sent money to. Of course, she didn't say that part, but you know, to be fair, what was she expected to say to the organization who probably funded that particular terrorist attack to some extent?
Exactly. It's since when is it okay for like Louis Farrakhan or all these people to associate with him? Let me ask you the question. Do you think Obama would have been elected if all that information had come out of how close he was with, was it William Ayers or who was it that he was hanging out with all the time?
No, you had it right. It was Ayers.
Yeah. Do you think he would have been elected if all of that information had come out? I mean, we have people that are, and I'm, the names are dropping because this is all befuddled. I'm so mad. But the lady that's in Cuba that's in prison or went and lives in Cuba now because she was one of the Black Panthers and killed the police officer.
Yes.
When we have people in the Democratic Party that are, in the House of Representatives basically publicly stating that at the the NAACP conference that she is revered and she is a fantastic woman and she did nothing wrong. There's a big problem with this party as far as I'm concerned. And I think the ends justify the means. Attitude is not okay with me. I've never heard a single Republican that I would associate with, or a libertarian that I would associate with, or even an independent that I would associate with, justify what Timothy McVeigh did in any way whatsoever. No.
And I'm not calling him a conservative because I don't necessarily believe that he was. I think he was a crazy man who didn't know what he was. But I know that other people have put him on that side of the aisle. But you won't find me justifying him, and I don't know anyone else who would.
I wanted to read another quote that Ilhan Omar stated to just get your thoughts on this. She said, "The people and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon." President George W. Bush. She's saying, was Bush downplaying the terrorist attack? What if he was a Muslim? Now, when George Bush made that comment, he was A, President of the United States. B, he wasn't going to condemn whoever it was that did it until they knew 100% who did it. Why would you do that? But to compare her comments, what she made in her speech, to what George Bush said is just outrageous. Two completely...
Yeah.
And so that's how she's trying to justify her comments.
Well, again, she was speaking to CARE, who funnels money to terrorists. And what would you say to the people who funded the attack that you're talking about? So, to some extent, maybe that's what her justification was about.
Well, she needs some education.
I'm not saying
education.
I'm not saying it was right. I'm just kind of trying to maybe explain why it was so twisted.
I think, honestly, that she probably doesn't realize that she's being scrutinized and recorded as much as she was in the previous. They're digging.
Well, you know what? That's stupid. Because when you get to that level and you make a speech of that magnitude to a group of that size, you better know you're being recorded. I made a speech that was about maybe, I think it was like 25 minutes for the Red Cross at an internal Cisco meeting. I hit the stage knowing I was going to be recorded. I left the stage knowing that I had been recorded.
Oh, exactly.
I knew that every word I said was going to end up on the internet the entire time I was speaking.
when I was
There
on the
were
school,
like there were less
recorded
than 100
all of our
people.
meetings.
Yeah, there were maybe 150 people at that meeting where I made that speech. There were probably 500 people at the meeting where she made her speech. If she didn't know she was being recorded and scrutinized, she's an idiot. I'm not saying she's not an idiot. It sounds like she is a bit of an idiot. But if she didn't know she was being recorded, that's pretty stupid.
You know, there's just way too many double standards that we have here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how does it get fixed? That is the question of the year. That's probably what all of the psychiatrists don't want us to find the answer to.
Okay, so here's something that's really interesting. It's a little bit of a story that I'll tell you. And so you and I are in the same boat where the policies of the government, right? And tax policies of the Democrats they impact us. And so we're very concerned about them. They have a huge impact on our bottom line and our insurance premiums and our take home income and all of that. I have a friend who's in a bit of a different position where Republican policies have had a very negative impact on her living situation, right? I believe because of this, I believe that in reality, it's how people perceive political decisions impacting their day-to-day life that really drives them. And this is 80 to 90% of the people who are not motivated activists or paid activists or, people like AOC who are making a career of making policy, right?
Hopefully not for long, but yes.
Right, exactly. But
come on, you Norkers, you need to vote her out.
Right, but real people in real life.
Correct.
But when it comes down to it, what we believe as far as democracy, our republic, why we were created, how things should be, right, is not that different. It's really not that it's really not that different at all. So the politicians protect their incumbency by keeping us polarized.
Oh, yes.
The people don't really see things that differently other than the impact that they have on their day-to-day lives. And I've always believed in term limits. I believe term limits would fix a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Because you have 2 terms or a few terms to get something done to help as many people as possible. And you cycle through people who really want to do, it's not even something that I can really explain, but it's something that I'd really like for us to try, because I think it would have, I believe that people would come, sorry, puppy. I believe that people would come together and realize that we really don't see things that differently,
I 100% agree about term limits. What?
But you're not so sure that people don't see things that differently?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I 100% agree about term limits. We have way too many senators, for example, or look at Nancy Pelosi, who believe being a politician should be a career. It shouldn't be a career, because at some point in time, and this is how I feel about pretty much every one of our representatives from New Hampshire. They talk the talk. They tell you what you want to hear, and then the second they get to D.C., screw all you constituents. We could care less. Oh, here, we'll throw a few dollars at the, the Portsmouth Naval Yard. That'll shut you up for a while. And that's pretty much it. Do you know how many of these, representatives that I've contacted in regards to, when I was on the school board for school board issues, to, from funding the IDEA Act to all the unfunded mandates that the federal government keeps pushing down to the states, down to the local level? I got the usual lip service. Oh, yeah, we'll look into it. They've never looked into it because they don't care. If it doesn't affect them personally, they don't care. And what are you supposed to do? Term limits is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I know. The funny thing is that what you said about them doing nothing is I had a progressive friend say almost the exact same thing to me, probably about a month ago, and Nancy Pelosi was one of the people that she mentioned, as well as her own. Her own representative, and she kind of had the same frustration that you just did, and I would say the same of Mitch McConnell, and I would say the same of a lot of them. I have a great disappointment in Trey Gowdy. Even it's and not that I don't think that. He's very articulate, and the things that he says are great. But I mean, what did he really do?
Oh, exactly. The
only thing that I can remember the only thing I can remember off the top of my head, them doing in the past couple of years that really impressed me was the changes to the CDA that, protected the children from trafficking on websites like Backpage.
You're right.
Yeah. And I just call it the Backpage legislation because that's really where it came from. And that's the only thing that they've done in a year or more that's really impressed me.
Honestly, I don't think and they are 100% true, when Obama's first 2 years, when he had the Democrats in both the House and the Senate, they pushed that travesty of, Obamacare through, which literally threw the entire industry into a tailspin that's never been recovered from. But to me, it basically just empowered the insurance companies to say, you know what, we're not going to cover this. We're not going to cover that. I remember when I used to have insurance, in the 90s, everything was covered. And now your lab tests aren't covered. This isn't covered. That isn't covered. And that's, I'm pretty sure, a direct result of the Obamacare. He took, and when you have Bernie Sanders now coming out with his, single payer system, we're going to take it away from the, employers and the doctors, and we're just going to have one system, and it's only going to cost 23 trillion or whatever, 3 point whatever trillion it is. Do you honestly think I would want the government to be responsible for my health insurance? I watch all the stuff they don't cover for my parents under, Medicare. Medicare's not even probably going to be there when we retire.
I don't,
the rate that they're going.
It's not the insurance to me as much as it is my data. I don't want the government to be I don't want the government to have my health data, because they can't protect it. The government gets hacked more than anybody.
Well, health insurance companies can't protect it either. I mean, my whole health thing was when Anthem got hacked. I got
Right.
the letter that said, "Oh yeah, by the way, all your stuff's out there," and I'm like, "Good. Well, I guess it's good that I haven't been sick for the past few decades." You know what I mean? So they didn't get
Right.
much,
Right, exactly.
except for the occasional cold.
But what did they get? Did they get your social security number? Because yeah,
Probably.
because that's the thing that you most don't want them to have, and that they most want to have.
They couldn't say one way or the other if it was definitely compromised or not. But that was that. And then I got the letter from Experian that said, "Oh yeah, by the way, your information was hacked too." And it's just like, you know what? Whatever.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So Cybersec Princess has a question.
Yes.
Your insurance company informed you of a breach, but
Yes.
couldn't tell you for sure whether or not your information was compromised.
Correct.
That's not okay.
I know that. That was like, let's see, 2000, wasn't it 14 and 15 when that happened, when Anthem got hacked?
Okay, well, I might give them a little bit of slack for not knowing exactly what information was taken in 2000. Rudy wants to be on the radio. In 2014, but yeah, not really. Shush, Rudy.
Oh, she sounds so cute. But you're right.
Adorable.
In this day and age of cyber safety, if you will, how safe can you really be?
You can't. Nothing. I mean, nothing is completely secure. Security is never 100%. Everything is exploitable. Everything is exploitable. But the problem that I have with companies that are breached, and this happened to my father was actually here today. He actually came to see me today and told me a story about his bank letting him know that his home equity line was, someone attempted to social engineer their way into his home equity line to get an extension and get money out of it 2 years ago. Wells Fargo, yeah, I just called him by name, never told him about it for 2 years. This is the problem that I have with companies who have breaches and things like that happen. They never inform their customers. Another friend of mine told me that the state that she lives in, their systems were breached. She gets a letter about it 3 months later. That's too late. That is too late. Your identity is stolen, and you have 100. You could have 100 credit cards in your name. You could have had 15 people buy your information off of the dark net in 3 months easily.
Which is why you notice how insurance companies are now pushing forward to buy the insurance for identity theft. We'll take care of it all. Extra $40.
That's ridiculous. If you can't protect my data, no, I should not have to pay you to protect my data.
No, they're saying that they will take care of all of the notifications, any court, anything that has to be done at court and all that stuff, whatever. But you know what I find another very interesting aspect of the data and is all the people that have rushed to do their DNA testing with like Ancestry.com and 123. And have you noticed, I'm sure you've been reading in the news, how many cold cases that are literally decades old are now being solved because a family member sent in their DNA.
Yeah.
And because it's
like
a
the Night
public
Stalker.
site and they don't realize it's a public site, some people might not realize it's a public site, but because it is, and the police can get access to it, they're being able to solve murders that are like 40, 50, sometimes even 60 years old.
Right.
And I find that absolutely amazing that they're able to do that.
Yeah, it is. And this is something really interesting. I did an Ancestry DNA over a decade ago, and it was before the British company that bought Ancestry. It was when the Mormons still owned it. The privacy policy at the time is that they would never share it, they would never sell it, it would never go anywhere. That was the privacy policy that I did my DNA discovery under. So if they ever release my DNA, they might have a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it was a completely different privacy policy when I did it, and I've not opted into their new policy.
I think a lot of people, I'm kind of wondering what these people felt when they got the knock on the door and said, "You're under arrest for murder 40 years ago." And they're like, I got away with it this long.
I know, really. The other thing that I really question about that is that they are a European, so they were a British company. So they technically left the EU, but I believe that they still have to operate under the QDPR. Forget, I get that acronym mixed up, but it's the new privacy laws in the EU. So what are they going to do about that exactly? Because they're not supposed to be releasing that kind of data. So there are issues that are going to come up with this. There are privacy issues that are going to come up with this. Someone's going to sue, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went on Ancestry.com, and I was fascinated that I was able to trace back my dad's side to the 1500s in Germany. By the way, I'm wondering if I might be related to Chris Lesh, because I found a Lesh in the family. In Germany,
If you're
I was
listening,
like,
Chris,
we're related.
Chris, if you're listening, give Di a call.
Yeah, we're related. Somehow, like a million times removed. But anyways. I mean, I was they're from Bavaria. I love Bavarian cream. But my great-great-grandfather was a maltmeister, they call them. A maltster in Erie, Pennsylvania. And he had one of the biggest breweries in Pennsylvania at the time, back in the 1800s. You know, they came from Bavaria. I can't even pronounce the name, but it's pretty interesting stuff that, you know, when you find out all this stuff. Like my mom's side, there was my mom had a great uncle Napoleon.
Oh, that's awesome. I have pirates in my family, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was Napoleon, it was Philemon, it was Adolf. I'm like, okay, that's 2 out of the 3 Antichrists. Thank goodness.
According to Nostradamus. Right.
I know, and I don't like Nostradamus anyways, but I was like, well, we know Obama wasn't the Antichrist because he wasn't in there, so. But
no, it was Reagan, remember, because all of his names have 6 letters.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Do you remember that, when Reagan was the Antichrist because all of his names had 6 letters? That was funny.
Oh my God. The things some of these people come up with is just absolutely crazy.
No, that was fun. I know, it was crazy, but that was funny. I'm sorry, that was really funny.
I just have to say, though, looking at this current crop of, you know, I didn't get a chance to read up further on it, but did Bernie Sanders actually release his tax returns today?
Did he? I don't know. Did he?
Yeah. Supposedly, as of like 4:00 when I was driving home, he was going to be releasing his tax returns at any time. And I find it very interesting that, you know, with Elizabeth Warren releasing hers, close to being a millionaire, you already know Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. And I'm curious if you notice how the lawsuit against his wife is kind of like no one's really reporting on it anymore in Vermont.
Really?
Yeah, the $3 million that she was her sister worked for her, and then there was $3 million or $6 million was misappropriated, and they haven't been able to find it. But that kind of disappeared.
Oh yeah, because $3 million is easy to lose.
Yeah.
If I had $3 million, I'm sure I'd lose it.
I'm sure I would lose it.
Probably
maybe
in
at
a spa. In a spa in the Caribbean.
I'm going to say Harrods in London. That would be easy.
Right? Exactly.
I've been in there twice and I've only made it through maybe a 16th of the store. But I always found myself back in the pet section. Oh my Lord. Oh, the outfits I could have had Dexter wear would have been amazing.
Yep.
That place was, you walked by the Cartier.
Does Dexter like cats, or do you just make him wear them?
Dexter loves wearing outfits, and he was politically incorrect when I had the taco outfit for him because he's a Chihuahua.
Yes, that would be politically incorrect.
And
did you make him a Mexican word of the day?
No, I wanted to, but he wore it proudly. He was like, "I am rocking my taco outfit."
Only a Chihuahua.
And my other dogs were looking at him like, "Oh, you fool."
Yeah, Caleb. Not Caleb Howell, the other Caleb on Twitter, with the golden retriever named Jack. See, I can't remember Caleb's last name, but I remember his golden retriever's name. It's Jack. He gets Jack to wear sunglasses. I can't get my golden retriever to wear sunglasses.
I can't get mine to wear sunglasses at all.
No, mine are way too crazy.
The only one that will actually let me put clothes on him is Dexter. I mean, if he sees a sweater coming out, he is sitting down waiting for me to put it on him. He loves wearing his sweaters and jackets, because during the winter I put a little jacket on him because when he goes outside, because he gets cold.
Well, yeah, because Chihuahuas don't have a whole lot of hair.
Well, I mean, some are long haired. He's short haired, but But I just, back to our subject of cybersecurity.
Okay.
Cybersecurity.
Do we have to stop talking about dogs?
I could go on for days about dogs, but I don't think the people in the chat room probably want to hear about the dogs. We can talk about my cats.
No, just dogs.
My cats, King Henry and Anne Boleyn, Bo for short. I didn't name them.
Your girls must have named them.
Yeah, I was thinking when I looked at Henry, he could be Angus because at one point she wanted Scottish names too, but I digress. Cybersecurity. So we all know what it's like to be have people reach into our real life, which I find the irony of a lot of people on the left that are now getting upset because people are reaching into their real life. And it's like, am I wrong to feel like, welcome to my world? It started with, for example, when you had the person that refused to make the cake for the gay marriage, or was it a civil ceremony?
Mm-hmm.
How they literally destroyed him on social media and reached into his real life.
Yeah.
As well as, it seems as though in this day and age, if you publicly disavow something that you disagree with, it's okay to destroy you. And is that a direct result of, technology of today, social media? And what I find interesting is when you have Facebook, Twitter trying to control it. Of course, we all know it's kind of one-sided when they're trying to control it. However, they're trying to control it. I guess the question is, who's deciding at what level is it bad? And I think that's always been an issue with me, when who are you to interpret what's bad and what isn't bad?
Well, I think so if you would not stand in front of someone and say something,
mm-hmm.
then you shouldn't say it to them on the internet. Basically, to some extent, if you would not walk into a place of employment and stand in front of an employer and point at their employee and say, that employee is fascist, and I know they are because they support Donald Trump, then you probably shouldn't be saying that on the internet and calling their employer and saying that I saw them say this on the internet, so therefore I know that they're a fascist. And you should fire them.
I find
that's the kind of reaching into real life, I think, that's really wrong. Doxing people who choose to be anonymous on Twitter, I think, is a very wrong thing to do, unless they're using that anonymity to really abuse people.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, right. So, I mean, doxing, in my mind, doxing is for criminals, pedophiles, things like that. ISIS hackers. The truth of it is that people do it to just because they disagree with someone, right? And that's wrong, because you never know what kind of danger you're going to put that person in.
And the question is, like, for the example, the ISIS hackers. I mean, it's fine to say and think that you are an ISIS hacker, but that's not something that you can very easily do. You need to know exactly what it is that you're looking for. You have people that are trying to do it for, I don't know if you want to say self-worth or self-inflation, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but
they're state actors.
Do they not realize what they could bring upon their own family by doing something like that? And brag about it?
I care. Well, I made somewhat of a joke about the timing of the creation of the internet as we know it, and the closing of the mental hospitals by Jimmy Carter. The timing of those two things is they're pretty close together. So, but it was really a joke. I mean, the internet and Twitter is just a microcosm of society. So, I mean, we run across mean people all the time, right? We run across bad people all the time. We walk down the street and you never know who you may be passing that is a meth dealer or, a murderer or a serial killer or a rapist. I mean, you just really never know. Consider the road rage incidents that have ended in tragedy,
Oh, right.
And the internet is a superhighway.
Oh, it absolutely is, where they have the freedom to pound on the keyboard.
Yep, exactly. So, and one very, very talented and that someone, and him, very talented and very savvy IT guy told me once, you never know who is on the other end of that keyboard. And so you have to be careful. And I think that's something that you and I have learned.
Oh, yes.
When someone engages you, that, you have to be aware that you never know what what kind of person they might be, and be the sane one that walks away sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think we are approaching the end of our show. I can't believe that went by so fast.
That is a perfect way to end too. Be the sane
Thank you so
one.
much. And will you come back for a future show? Because I think we could do an entire hour on cybersecurity.
Yeah, we could. And we could actually do probably an hour on how to be safe online.
Yeah. And maybe not send nude photos of yourself out, because even if you cut your head off.
Oh, the only way to not have your nudes posted is to not send them.
Yes. Oh my God. Who knew that?
Who knew? Right.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for producing our show, Rick. Greatly appreciate that.
You're the man, Rick.
Anytime.
And Jody, we miss you, and we look forward to seeing you back at our next show when things calm down. And we're definitely going to have Lou back. And have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, Ty. Thanks, Rick.
Bye.